Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 1037. Gehrman's Problem. After hearing Miss Justice, Derek very enthusiastically replied, "Our City of Silver's warehouse likely has the complete brain of an adult mind dragon. I'll inform you after confirming it when I return." He originally wanted to say that even if there was the complete brain of an adult mind dragon, it was most likely filled with madness and distorted mental corruption, but after seeing the bronze cross, he felt that it wasn't a problem. That simple? Audrey's eyes lit up when she heard that. Her depressed mood from last night had brightened up significantly. Indeed, compared to the outside world where dragons are decreasing in number, the City of Silver, which has a history dating back to the Second Epoch, will likely possess such ingredients. It's mainly because they do not have the higher sequences formula for the spectator pathway, so even with the ingredients, they are of little use. Furthermore, they lack an artisan and are unable to turn beyonder ingredients into mystical items. At times, they'd rather just store them. Many thoughts ran through Audrey's mind as she asked with a faint smile, "If you do have it, what would you exchange it for?" "I haven't thought of it." Derek felt a little embarrassed as he raised his hand and scratched the back of his head. His main goal now was to obtain the Creator's relic from Mr. Fool, but he didn't have anything of equal value. In the past, he would definitely be worried, but now, he quickly came up with an idea despite his worries. He decided to ask the chief because he was certain that the chief was interested in the Creator's relic. Due to having such thoughts, he really didn't know what payment he needed from Miss Justice. He planned on figuring out the other matter before telling her. "All right, confirm it first. It's best if you can check if there's any blood of an adult mind dragon." Audrey didn't press as she nodded gently. It was the hardest supplementary ingredient she needed in the Dreamwalker potion formula. Audrey immediately looked around, indicating that she was done. "You don't have to look at me. Although I do have some savings, there's nothing I wish to buy. It mainly has to do with teacher not having given me the Traveler's Potion formula. Among the first 5 sequences of Apprentice, I like Traveler the most. I've always been looking forward to heading to different places to take in their vistas and delicacies. But thinking of the long journey, the crowdedness or crude transportation tools, and the inns whose level of hygiene is questionable, I'll definitely be obstructed by all the bulky baggage. After I become a traveler, these won't be a problem." Firz's thoughts gradually wandered as she fantasized about her future life. Zio pondered for a moment and said, "Everyone, please look out for the potion formula for the Arbiter Pathway Sequence 6 Judge and Sequence 5 Disciplinary Paladin." She had a chance of obtaining the Judge formula from her MI9 contact, but she believed that Viscount Stratford's death would definitely cause a storm in Backland, and when that happened, many things might change. Therefore, she planned on getting the Tarot Club to make additional preparations. After all, it was only for them to be on the lookout and not to search for them. Besides, at Sequence 6 and 5, that would make her a quasi-high-ranking member of MI9. For informants in the peripheral to apply for the potion formula, there was a high probability that she needed to undergo a new round of investigations. This wasn't something she could skip because of the contact who had been very friendly to her. To Zio, who was anxious to advance to a high sequence beyonder and figure out the secret of the king, she undoubtedly couldn't place her hopes in the military. "All right." Aldra was the first to reply. Due to the influence from the royal family and the military, the Church of Storms likely had some of the potion formulas of the Arbiter Pathway. Of course, this wasn't something a Sequence 6 captain responsible for acting as a pirate would know. He only had a chance of knowing them after he officially became a Sequence 5 and was summoned back to the church, or was assigned to deal with more important missions. Following that, Katla said, "The potion formula of the Arbiter Pathway is strictly controlled by the Lone and Phainopota royal families and military. They seldom appear in the wild. However, I can try to help you obtain it, but not able to guarantee you success. Also, if you need it, I can provide you with a Judge Pathway's mystical item. After its shattering and reformation, it will become the corresponding main ingredient." When she mentioned the words shattering and reformation, Katla subconsciously thought of turning her body sideways as a hint to misjudgment that she could seek Mr. Fool's help, but ultimately she held back. As for the method to obtaining the potion formula, it was actually very simple. It was to take the initiative to listen to the ravings of the hidden sage and accept the knowledge he imbued. At sequence 4, her level of tolerance as a demigod had undergone a qualitative change. However, the hidden sage was definitely not an existence that lacked intelligence. He could attach negative influences in the knowledge in his ravings, and even send his powers down from above, corrupting the listener. Therefore, such actions were still dangerous. Katla had the courage to attempt it, not because she was rash and overly confident, but because she was a member of the Moses Ascetic Order. As an ancient organization that believed in the hidden sage, the Moses Ascetic Order's upper echelons had gradually found a relatively safe method to listen while under this existence's influence. Likewise, the hidden sage didn't have a ridiculous level of malicious intent towards members of the Moses Ascetic Order. He seldom brought harm, and most of the time, he was simply imbuing knowledge and letting them pursue his believers. To her, as long as she controlled the frequency and quantity, she could obtain knowledge from the hidden sage in a rather safe manner. As for the tiny influence and corruption that came with it, she suspected that the process of entering the area above the gray fog every time she participated in the tarot gathering allowed them to be eliminated in a natural and simple manner. The only problem was that the knowledge she received each time wasn't something under her control. It depended on the hidden sage's mood and thoughts at that particular point in time. In a sense, this was a passive and irresistible secret deed ritual. As for the judge pathway mystical item that she was willing to provide, it came from the Fog Sea's strongest hunter Anderson, a button. After she became a demigod, some of the items she held had little use. One of them was the button. After hearing that, Zio didn't hesitate to agree. All right, I'll consider purchasing it after obtaining the judge potion formula. I hope I can raise my sequence again by then, allowing me to use the gray fog's powers that isn't just close to the level of an angel, but that of an angel. Only then can I shatter items and let the characteristic reform. Otherwise, I'll still have to bother Ma'am Ariana or Will Septon. Yes, if Mr. Azek were to awaken, things would be a lot simpler. I wonder if the unshadowed crucifix can purge an item's beyond her characteristic out. I don't think it will work. It can't coexist with those items, preventing them from even coming close. Other than this restriction, it should be possible in theory. I'll later try to use the gray fog's powers to force the unshadowed crucifix to be bound to other mystical items. Klein, who was listening by the sidelines, thought. After discussing Miss Judgment's matter, the other members didn't seem to have any needs to make a transaction. Leonard had already covered up the weaknesses of his mystical item. Alger was working hard to become legal. Derek was only thinking of the creator's relic. Emlyn and Katla had just advanced recently, so they had nothing they needed for now. Amongst them, Katla had the intention of renting the cross to see if she could cleanse the remnant corruption in Artisan Sealf. However, the Roselle diaries she gathered came from Queen Mystic and were used for obtaining answers. She believed she was temporarily unable to produce anything that would garner Mr. Fool's interest. I'll try to gather the Emperor's diary out at sea. Katla secretly made the decision. After some thought, Emlyn said to the magician, Ma'am, in the next 2 weeks, I might need to rent that notebook. No problem. Furs was originally thinking of spending money to get Mr. Moon to add abyss shackles and other beyonder powers to the spellbook, so she was very happy to permit his request. This meant, not only would she not be spending money, but she would even earn some money. At this thought, she couldn't help but add, Try not to record full moon. She would be very troubled if Lamino's Travels' powers were mainly filled with full moon. While Emlyn nodded in agreement, Alger interrupted as though in thought. Is the Sanguine's hunting of the key members of the Rose School of Thought about to begin? Yes. Emlyn didn't hide the truth at all. Once the plan is finalized, I'll get everyone to provide me with suggestions. No problem. The first to answer wasn't the hangman, but the world Gehrman sparrow who had been sitting silently at the bottom end of the long bronze table. He's interested in this? Not only did Emlyn think this, but the other members also had the same idea no matter how slow they were. With the hangman, the hermit, and Justice agreeing to help Mr. Moon in plotting the sanguine operation, the Tarot Club's transaction segment came to an end, ushering in the free communication segment. The world Gehrman sparrow sat up slightly and looked at the star Leonard. Help me ask if that person has seen the second blasphemy slate. Blasphemy slate? Audrey and the other members immediately grasped the peculiar term. They immediately had astonished thoughts. The second blasphemy slate? Mr. Starr isn't as simple as he appears. He knows someone that has seen one of the most important items in mythical legend. Other than his identity as a member of the church and official beyonder, he had other secrets. No wonder he has joined the Tarot Club. Leonard jumped in fright as well, never expecting Klein to raise such a request. After a few seconds of silence, he exhaled and said, "Okay.